And then I guess while need to find my app again, but there is a networking doc link that everyone can start accessing. You can add any resources or make any updates to your profile here. Looks like folks are starting to join. Welcome, everyone. We're going to give it a couple of minutes here and then we'll get started shortly. Just trying to find all my apps here, which seem to go missing when you need them. Okay. So we're gonna do a little 4-minute countdown here as folks start trickling and we'll get started. But in the meantime, please feel free to put into the chat where you're dialing in from. If you want to share your profile or your area of climate work, that is fantastic as well. So maybe I will start. I'm Michelle from Toronto, and I work on awareness, community, and my LinkedIn here. Feel free to use the chat and welcome everyone. For those that are just joining, I'm dropping in the networking doc here. We are expecting a full house today. We have over 80 people signed up for our networking, so excited to get started with everyone. Emily, nice to see you. Divya, it's been a while. Nice to see you as well. Great to have folks trickle in. Okay. And I'm gonna share my screen again and see how that works with a timer app. Okay, great. So as we wait for folks to trickle in, again, feel free to share who you are here. I'm also going to launch our first poll just to see where everyone is at. Are you going to be going to COP this year? I know some people may still be on the fence. We'll let that poll kind of sit there a while, but it looks like most of the people on the call are going to be joining COP. So you have like 80% of people who are going, and 10% that are not going, and 10% that are not sure. Maybe not going is Stephanie. Is that you?
I actually haven't voted.
You haven't voted. Okay, cool. It
I didn't
doesn't
want to
count
bring down the vote.
the vibe. No worries. Wonderful. Feel free to, oh, okay, Lori, you're in the maybe. Fair enough. And for those that are on the call, feel free to drop into the chat where you are dialing in from today. We've got London, we've got Minneapolis, Vietnam, amazing. Wow. Asia Farm Animal Day Conference with Nika. That's very, very exciting. And Emily, where are you dialing in from today?
I'm here in the Peaceful US office in New York City.
Ah, in New York. Fantastic.
Yes. Our ship is coming tomorrow.
Very exciting. Cool. If anyone's in New York, Emily is hosting an event. Emily, if you have a link you want to drop here, you're welcome to. We have Stephanie from Chicago. Nice. You have 20 folks in the room now, so feel free to drop in your name, where you're dialing in from today. Feel free to go into the networking document to add anything for the asks and gives. If you have any resources that you want to share with the folks, there's a couple of tabs in the document there, so be sure to use that. We've got Monica in Western Massachusetts. Welcome, Monica. For those of you just dropping in, we're just giving it almost a 30-second countdown now, but feel free to drop into the chat where you're dialing in from today and use our networking event, our networking sheet here. Welcome, Rupa from New York City. Let's see, we've got Kylie here. Amazing. Kylie from Hong Kong. I don't know if Kylie's dialed in here. We also have a poll open to see who will be joining here. Oh, that is the timer. That is not someone who has unmuted themselves. So very interesting. Okay, so a feedback. Okay, great. I'm going to stop this here. Stop the timer, and I'm going to give myself 5 minutes and we're going to get started. A huge welcome, everyone. I see Mary Claire there as well. My name is Michelle. I am the host, one of the hosts for today. We've got our poll here that I'm going to end and share with everyone. So it looks like most folks are going to be joining COP. We've got a couple people that are not going, some who are unsure. But looks like the majority of the folks in here are going to be headed to Baku this year, and I look forward to seeing many of you there. I am joined today by some esteemed speakers. We have Simge Sandal, who is our board member at Women in Climate, Mary Claire Graff, and Divya Nawale, who have been, Mary Claire has been a speaker in the past with Women in Climate, and Divya, we're really excited to have you here for the first time. And then Stephanie is also going to be supporting our breakout rooms and helping us spotlight folks as we have speakers switching. So in terms of the agenda today, I'm going to do a quick overview of Women in Climate. Then I'm going to pass it to Simge for a COP29 overview. We'll hear about negotiations from Mary Claire. We'll actually learn some of the ins and outs of Baku City from Divya, which I'm very excited about. And I have also some resources to share, and then we'll be doing a virtual networking and then coming back for community sharing. And this session is being recorded just in case for those folks who aren't able to join today. So in terms of Women in Climate, I want to give everyone a quick overview. Many of you know us, but in case you are new to us, my name is Michelle. I'm the co-founder. I'm joined today by Stephanie as well, who is our other co-founder. And Women in Climate is a nonprofit that aims to create a joyful and safe space for more women to learn and talk about climate. We are present around the world, even though we are only 2.5 years old. We have city leads around the world. Shout out to any city leads that are in the session today. And we host events around the world, from Toronto to Singapore to San Francisco. These are just a few of our past events. And we really aim to bring together women to empower them, to learn together, and to accelerate action. We also do official events. So for the last 3 years, we've hosted an event at Climate Week, New York. We've been at COP. We will be at COP this year again. We have been in Doha, for example, for the CCOS Forum, Carbon Capture, Utilization, and Storage. I had the opportunity to speak at Bloomberg last year for the Sustainable Business Summit. So we are a small but mighty nonprofit, and a big thanks to all the volunteers that help us spread awareness and help us grow. We also have a speaker database. So this is a place where I hope most people here have a profile. We will actually be using the speaker database to recruit speakers for COP29 that Women in Climate is involved with, and we are already involved with a couple. The profiles are free to create, and you can indicate if you're going to COP and if you have a Blue Zone badge. That's really helpful for event organizers. And just example of our social media that we do for our speakers. We will be doing a social media push tomorrow to promote COP29 speakers. So again, if you have not created a profile yet, please do so by end of day today latest if you want to make the cut for the social media asset. And just so that we're all on the same page, our mission, again, is to create a joyful, safe space, but we also want to accelerate climate action by inspiring more women to get started on their climate journey and empowering women who are working on climate today. And we really focus on the women professionals. That's our area of expertise. So if you are in a position to support Women in Climate, we are an entirely volunteer-run organization. None of us take any salaries. We do have some freelance support. We do have software that we need to pay for. So if you're in a position to donate on a monthly basis for $5 or just a one-time donation, we really appreciate it. You can also get a Women in Climate pin. So for any donation over $30, you can get a pin. You pick it up in New York. So if you have a friend who lives in New York who can mail it to you, or the next time in New York, you can grab a pin from us. So with that, I am going to hand it over to Simge to talk a little bit about COP29. Simge, over to you.
Thank you, Michelle. And yes, welcome everyone. And it's my pleasure to talk about the COP29 today with you. Every COP is a crucial moment to really emphasize climate action and the uh, and the timer that we have, of course, the time is ticking, and we need to urgently take this different, like the global climate crisis on the agenda on a national level and a local level, but during the COP, of course, on a global level. The COP every year is rotating to different countries, and typically it also has a regional emphasis. As some in this room might remember, there was a focus on Europe a couple years ago. We had Middle East the last 2 years, and now this year it's really going into Central Asia and the Caucasus region, where the COP will take place in Baku, Azerbaijan. The location will be the Baku Stadium, and the dates of this year's COP are November 11th to November 22nd. And really, what is here the objective is to avoid overshooting the 1.1 temperature target that we have. But this year, the COP has two key pillars, one of them being enhancing ambition, where everything is really about bringing together the different nations to commit to very ambitious national plans, and at the same time also focus on enabling action, which is like a strong focus that this year's COP wants to set on finance to bring more climate solutions into the room. Of course, every COP is intended to be as inclusive as possible, so that's also the ambition for this year's COP. In terms of thematic areas that we have on the next slide, here we can see really the key pillars of this year's COP being reflected also in the agenda. Of course, there is the opening day where Azerbaijan will assume the COP presidency officially. So until now, this is like an interesting fact to know. The COP presidency is still with the COP28 presidency in Dubai. And on the first date, the Azerbaijani delegation will take over the COP presidency. And on the first 2 days, we have the World Leaders Climate Action Summit. This is really on national statements on advancing on the Paris Agreement and bringing also forward the Loss and Damage Fund. But I think here you can see how the different days around the different thematic areas are evolving. On the 14th of November is the Finance Day. This will also be the launch of the Climate Finance Action Fund that has been initiated by this year's COP presidency. We have the rest day on the 17th of November. On this day, there will be no negotiations taking place, so this is important to note. And this day will take place more outside of the COP venue. What does a COP venue look like? So as I mentioned before, this year's COP will take place at the Baku Stadium. The Baku Stadium has been built in 2015 to meet the standards of UEFA and FIFA for global sports events. And this year it will be remodeled to also serve purpose for the COP29. It has easy access through metro, and independent of how you can see here, the blue zone, which is at the Baku Stadium. We also have the green zone, which will be adjacent to the Baku Stadium, and it will provide easy access between the blue zone and the green zone. Just a quick recap, the blue zone is the area where we have official delegates and national delegates who can only go into this venue with a blue zone badge. This is also the place where the negotiations are taking place. And the green zone is an area where we have more private sector engagement. And as far as I know, this year green zone badges will also be free, because this year's COP presidency really wants to emphasize the stakeholder and the public-private relationship cooperation. What else to know? Of course, we at Women in Climate and Marie-Claire will go into a little bit more details here on the COP negotiations, follow the negotiations also thoroughly. And these are like the decision rooms where new climate targets are being set on a global level, and then the different delegations take them back home. On the UNFCCC website, you can also have access to the different sessions and the schedules, which will be made available shortly. Apart from this, if you have further questions on how COP is being organized, I also added 2 additional resources here on the next slide, where you can deep dive into how to COP. Here is every information about how different delegations are organizing the COPs and what the framework looks like. And then here is another resource, which is called On Behalf of My Delegation. This is a survival guide for new and sometimes lonely climate change negotiators. And I will hand over to Marie-Claire, the co-founder of the Youth Negotiators Academy, to go into some more details about the negotiations this year.
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much, Simke, for this lovely introduction and handover. My name is Marie-Claire. Maybe have seen some of the faces already. I have been a former negotiator for the government of Switzerland at a quite young age. I was 23 years old, and now I'm running an academy which trains young people, and specifically also young women from all around the world, because we do truly believe that we need more young people, but also more diverse people in the negotiation rooms. And it's my pleasure to talk a little bit about the negotiations. I will keep it light, but there is much more you can dig into, and I will just share with you a link in the chat where you can find all the information needed. So let's go to the next slide, where we prepared some questions for you in a couple of minutes to guide you through it. So just to let you know, like in the academy, we take around 6 months to go over all of this, and I will shorten it now to 5 minutes. So there is much more to it. But, well, what happened over the last couple of years? So as you might have seen in the last years, we had quite a lot of push to move away from looking only at reducing emissions to actually what if we have to adapt to the effects of the climate crisis. I'm currently in the US, and I'm going to fly to Miami very soon, and you probably all have heard about the devastating impact of the hurricane. You probably have seen the devastating storms and also floods and wildfires all over the continent. And just slowly, the multilateral process is waking up that we can no longer only mitigate the emissions, but also have to adapt to it. That's why in the Paris Agreement now we also have language around adaptation, which previously was not there. And one of the agenda items, which is on the agenda, is the global goal on adaptation. The global goal on adaptation really tries to set out not only a direction for the countries, but also for the finance, the support, the technical assistance, and so on, for countries to adapt to the impact of the climate crisis. And of course, there's a very specific element that the countries who have been contributing the least to the ongoing climate crisis are the ones who are hit the most, the hardest. That's why there's also a crucial finance piece. I'm coming to this a little bit later. Also, you might have heard about the groundbreaking achievements around the loss and damage fund. Loss and damage is basically once you can no longer adapt to the impacts of the climate crisis, and there is, for example, land loss because of the sea level rise, or because desertification is taking place. And for the first time in the UNFCCC history, we have an agreement on this 2 years ago, and last year there was a fund created and also financial contributions pledged. Couple of millions. It's still very, very short of what is needed. There are a lot of research which goes into the billions. And this brings me to like what's happening this year. Last year, we concluded the global stock take. The global stock take, without going to the specific, is basically a 5 years momentum where we are globally assessing the progress of all the countries. So all the countries have to hand in some action plans. They're called the national determined contributions. These are action plans where all the countries set out their ambition. And for the first time, we have been reviewing this. And obviously, we are not yet on track, right? That's why now countries have to review these national determined contributions and increase their ambition. That's the increasing ambition loop. And so this is the focus, what is happening right now, that all the countries have been working or have to work on their national determined contributions. You might have heard that this year's spotlight for the COP is finance. Finance is a very contentious and big topic in the negotiation. And this year, very specifically, because it's the first time after 15 years, we're renegotiating what finance looked like. 15 years ago, at the historic low of the negotiations in Copenhagen back in 2009, there was a commitment by the developed nations to the developing nations that they will raise annually $100 billion to assist them by 2020. And then unfortunately it was not, countries couldn't raise the funds, and only once in 2022, actually they could raise these 100 billion a year. Now we are opening up this box and looking into way bigger numbers of finance and also new streams of finance. Also important to know, I mentioned in the very beginning, now we see more and more adaptation to the climate crisis. So far, the funding was only for mitigation, and many countries have been calling for, we have to adapt, we need funds to adapt to the ongoing climate crisis. So that's definitely the spotlight today. It's called the New Quantified Goal on Climate. It's a very fancy acronym, NCQG. So watch out for this acronym. It basically means the new goal on finance and also how we can shift money from only mitigation to adaptation as well as loss and damage. So we are all hoping that we will reach an ambitious decision at this COP, and this will be like a major milestone if we can find common language around finance on this NCQG. Oops, time is up. It's going to be very difficult to reach this, but let's see. Hopefully, collectively, we can achieve this all together. And just to wrap up, of course, gender is also a very important topic on the agenda, so don't miss out on this. And with this, I hand over to Divya.
Hi, this is Divya. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Thank you, Michelle and Simga, for having me. Very excited to be here, and I'm probably the only one here actually dialing in from Baku today. I have been here since mid-September now. This is my third time here, actually. I was here first time doing a scoping mission in April, where we started working with the government. So to introduce myself, I'm a climate specialist with Asian Development Bank, and I'm living here as an expat in Baku for a short time. And I'm originally based in Germany. And basically, like I said, I have seen Baku in April, it was very cold. And then in June, it was very hot. And now that I arrived in September, weather-wise, it was very pleasant when I arrived, but now it's starting to get a bit gloomy and windy. And I think the anticipated weather for October, when people come for COP, will also be a little bit on the chillier side. So I think maybe plan for like layers and jacket weather. Maybe I'll talk a little bit more about the city and my experience as well. In terms of where to stay, I'm actually staying in the proper city of Baku, very central, where my office is as well. But I would say it's about a 30-minute drive to the Olympic Stadium from here, whereas from the airport, it's actually closer. So my suggestions, if you're coming for COP29, is maybe even try to stay close to the airport or closer to the venue. However, if you basically are not able to find many options, which actually don't exist around there because it's not as kind of heavy with hotels in that area because it's slightly outside the city, I would suggest you can stay closer to Nizami Street, which is the tourist hub. There's lots of hotels and Airbnb. I think from there, the easiest way to also commute, you will have metro and the COP presidency is basically planning for a number of shuttle buses from around the city. So if you stay in the central area, you will essentially find lots of cafes to work out of. You will be able to basically, find Wi-Fi easily and things like that. So yeah, my recommendations, either stay close to the stadium if you can, or closer to Nizami Street where there are lots of options. And just to kind of show you in this map, you can see that the airport is like 15-minute drive from the Olympic Stadium. Whereas, if you go further down, there's like a blue a marker where exactly I am basically. And there's an organic shop, very, very climate friendly, which I often go to, which showed up on my Google Maps. So I kept it there, but that's where I'm staying right now. So you can see that it's equidistant from airport and where I'm living, which is the center of the city. So next slide, want to quickly share a little bit about getting around. So the most affordable taxi service I found in Baku is the Bolt app. However, the drivers are a bit tricky. They mostly don't speak English. So try and be very smart. It's very cheap, actually, like coming from airport to the center of the city should not cost you more than 15 manat, which is the local currency. If they say it's about 50 or 60, then they're basically overcharging you and trying to scam you. So be very smart about it. Don't let them cancel anything after you have got into the car. Make sure you're on the booking so you're tracked digitally as well. I've also used Bolt Food, which is a different app, but you can order within the two apps. And essentially, there are lots of good food options you can order, and everything comes to your location. I think the challenge, one thing I found challenging about Baku is that it's not a very public transport friendly as it should be as compared to some of the other big cities in the world. However, there is a metro and it goes pretty close to the stadium, but it's a 15-minute walk from the last metro station to the stadium. So I would suggest that there should be shuttle buses that will already be provided by COP29 logistics. So you can take the metro from wherever you're in the city and walk there, but prepare for at least being, 1 hour travel time with the shuttle and everything. A question about vegetarian options. Funny thing, there's lots of Indian food available. Vegetarian is a little bit tricky when you go, but there are cafes, especially that have plant-based milk. There are definitely some options available, but not very plenty. So you'll have to ask for it, or they will try to adjust with you based on what your requirements are. But you have to be a little bit vocal because they're not available on the menu most of the time. Okay, next slide. Basically talking about currency, might be useful to carry a mix of card and cash for the local currency. People do not accept dollars here. It's very rare, but they accept manat, and the international cards work everywhere. There are ATMs all over the city. You can, of course, exchange dollars when you land at the airport. Browse supermarket is everywhere, and some of the locations are open 24/7. So that's your closest supermarket. You can basically go buy some fruit and groceries over there. SIM cards are available when you land at the airport, but I have not actually bought one myself. I use international SIM card, and most cafes have free Wi-Fi. There's no restrictions on WhatsApp, unlike Dubai last year, so I found it very comfortable. Going to the last bit that I have is that, if you are coming then and you're registered with Blue Zone, remember that there's a free visa that's available to you. And in fact, if you're coming through Green Zone, it's also easy. I have used this e-visa 3 times so far. So basically you have to apply online at evisa.gov.az, and I think if you apply for like a standard visa of $20, it will come within 3 days. Or if you want it basically to be very quick, then even 3 hours option is available. So it's a very urgent visa, but I think it costs around $65. So that's the only difference. Happy to take more questions. I see someone said that there's a vegan grocery store. So, oh my God, I don't think I've been to it myself, but I have been to Manipura. And the other vegan restaurant I highly recommend is the Dayrama Cafe. So these are the two that are very close to where I am living. But Manipura, I definitely highly recommend. I've been there at least 4 times. And I'll definitely check out Love by Veganizer. Thank you so much. I'm happy to answer more questions as well. So back to Simka for now.
Thank you so much, Divya. That was super helpful. And we do have some time after our networking as well to take more questions. So we'll have plenty of time for that. And you can add your questions to the networking doc. So we'll go in order of how people are asking. So last but not least, I just wanted to share a few quick resources that we have. Obviously, we have our networking Google Sheet that you will have access to during the duration of COP, etc. So count that as a resource. We also have some webinar replays from our previous COPs. So we talked about impact at COP28. In case you've never been to COP, that's kind of a good place to get a sense of what it's like. We also have a COP27 reviews and reflections. Emily's in the audience here. She was one of our speakers, but that's a really good one for people who are new to COP. And you are able to share this with other people. So since you're here, you probably know what COP is or have been to COP. But if there are folks that do not know what COP is, the COP27 one is a really good place to start. And you can find all these resources on our COP page, which is front and center on our website right now. Additionally, again, there is the speaker database. So be sure to get on it ASAP if you want to be included in the social media post tomorrow. And then we also have our Slack and WhatsApp communities. So those are going to be our Slack group is where you want to communicate on a daily basis with our global community. We have channels for all the different cities we have members in. And then our WhatsApp community is more event-based. So things like, hey, how much should a taxi be? Or where's the best vegan spot? That's where you want to be using our WhatsApp community. And again, all of these are available on our website. So I'll just kind of drop that in here. In the footer is where you can find the links to join our Slack and WhatsApp group. So with that, we are going to get into our networking. I'm going to pass it over to Stephanie to get us sorted, but essentially we'll have 10 minutes in our room. There'll be about 3 attendees per room. So, have an introduction of where you're from, what your objective at COP is, if you've been there before, anything else you want to share. What we ask is that you go around once first to do some introductions, so everybody gets a chance to speak, and then you go into the second prompt or whatever, however your the conversation evolves. But please do allow everyone to have an opportunity to speak before kind of diving into a specific topic.
I'll go ahead and open the networking rooms, and I'll bring you all back in 10 minutes and share a quick reminder right before I bring you back, just so you can wrap up your conversations. Enjoy.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Click look here. Okay, we have 3 to 4 people per room. Welcome back, everyone. Breakout rooms are closing in 30 seconds, so we'll give the rest of the group some time to come back. Welcome back. The breakout rooms are officially closing in 15 seconds, so we'll give the rest of the group some time to come back here. Hope everyone had a great time in breakout rooms. Three, two, one. And now everyone's being zoomed back here.
All right, looks like everyone had some engaging conversations. I'd love to hear anything interesting that took place in your rooms that you want to share with the group here or be helpful for other folks to know. Feel free to come off your mic. Anyone have anything to share?
Well, I guess I do. I feel like sometimes the value in like a Zoom networking event is just the randomness of who you get to meet. And so I met Nika recently, and she's engaged mostly in policy advocacy and agriculture. And I'm interested in the finance side of things. So in terms of like climate work. So I just love the I think it allows for an opportunity to be creative about ways in which we can collaborate and help one another. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Lily. Anyone else have anything to share? Any interesting connections?
Hey everyone. Yeah, sure, I can share. This is Emily McGlone from Peace Boat US. Thanks again to Women in Climate for organizing today's session. Some of the women in my group were not planning to go to COP just yet, but we were sharing that, these kind of resources and networking opportunities are really great to prepare for COP next year. I know a lot of people are looking at COP30 also. And from our side, I just wanted to offer that we have observer status to COP. So I've been joining the UNFCCC briefings along the way, and happy to share some notes or any recordings or links from those briefings as well. And we'll be organizing a couple of side events and press conferences. So we hope to have more of the women here involved, and anybody can feel free to reach out for more details soon. So thanks so much.
Awesome, Emily. Is there anything from the briefings that you've attended, Emily, that you feel that this group might want to know about, like 1 or 2 things?
Yeah, I think some of the things that they were sharing, I just thought that was interesting was more about the layout, kind of some of the transport. I'll put a link in the chat and I'll also add it to the doc for everyone too. But some of the briefings, it had some visuals that were really useful. These are just some screenshots that I took from the last one. We already talked, I guess, today a little bit about the visas and things like that. So some of this does include like links to visas. But there's some pickup points, for example, for transportation that's being organized by COP. So some of the screenshots in that folder have like some images of where the pickup points might be. And I know that people are probably preparing a little bit more last minute for this COP, I think, than others, because it just seems like it's, I don't know, there was just less information, I think, available from the UN FCCC officially until recently. So I know there's a lot of catching up to do, but I'll be happy to share some of these resources as they come in.
Awesome. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Emily. I'm going to go to our doc here where we have Q&As and any asks and gives. So we have Nika here. Nika, you have a couple of things. Do you want to take like 2 minutes and kind of go over everything that you have?
Yeah, sure. So my gift was I know an organization called Food Tank, and they're doing a series of events where they're speaking with farmers. So farmers and food producers. So if anyone fits into that demographic or is connected with farmers or food producers, they're still looking for speakers. So I just put the information about that in there. I also wrote about doing some events. So I'm actually hosting a women's circle on November 15th. And usually a women's circle is just really about mental health and connection and community. And so I think I'm going to do it at the Extreme Hangout space in the green zone. But yeah, just like open to anyone that wants to collaborate or work on that. And I'm just trying to find what the other thing was that I wrote, but yeah, you can just put it, you can just look at the sheet and see
Oh,
what I'm working on.
okay, great. I thought I was sharing my screen, but it turns out I'm not. Oh, I know what happened. Okay. Gonna try this again. Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, Nika, for sharing. Anna here is looking to network with folks who are working on in-house sustainability positions. So if you want to have a quick chat with her, her LinkedIn is in the link here. We also have Laura, who has a question on getting a green zone or blue zone pass. And Laura, this might be a good one to just like view the COP27 webinar in general, but green zone is typically available to the general public, and they'll likely release sign up and registration for that closer to the event. Blue zone is a little bit more tricky. Lots of people are looking for blue zone passes every COP, and especially this COP because they're not giving out as many of them. So it is probably going to be pretty tricky to get that. But if you really want a blue zone pass, my suggestion is to just like put it out on LinkedIn and see if anyone who you didn't expect in your network to know might have a connection somewhere. So that's my suggestion. Does anyone have any Blue Zone badge tips this year that you want to come off mute and share?
Hey everyone. Yeah, thanks, Michelle. Just to chime in also, I don't know if you all can see, but one of our colleagues, Pooja, had also put a really great list of information for Blue Zone badges. So maybe one of the things that students, I know especially some students from like Harvard and others, I'm just putting a couple of links in the chat, have been reaching out to us from this list. So if you contact the observer organizations, there's a couple links there. Anybody who has observer status to COP would be able to provide a Blue Zone badge. And as some people are not attending this year, one tactic that I know some people have been using is just to email people who have the observer status that are listed on the COP website and just seeing if they have any extra badges. It's always challenging, as Michelle said, and this year there's definitely been a significant cut in badges overall. So I think reaching out to organizations and seeing if they're attending and then trying to go that way. I don't know if you guys are able to access the links. Let me know in the chat.
Yeah. In the thanks for sharing that, Emily. And then in our COP27 webinar, we also go over kind of like side events that are happening. There are talks going on in Blue Zone, but in past COPs, there's a lot of like the extreme hangout that Nico mentioned. There's other ones as well. So if you want to, you don't have to have a Blue Zone badge to participate, but obviously there is stuff that's going on in the Blue Zone. And I think this year, more than other COPs, there's going to be a little bit more. If you have anything that you want to add, like a question, please use the doc here. That's what I'm going, but we only have one more, Kylie, and then we can open it up to other folks. But Kylie, you have a give. Do you want to go over this, Kylie?
Yes. So I am working on the finalized document. It's like a proposal template on behalf of Youngo. And since this year, I'll be representing the Younger Women and Gender Working Group. And then there will be a Youth Climate Forum, which is the YCF, which is also the Younger Cross Working Group side events. So it's a thematic session. So I am very urgently looking for a speaker who can speak on human mobility on women and gender lens, through the women and gender lens. I have already contributed with the to the outcomes and objections. Sorry, not objections, objectives, and the points. So I just need a speaker to speak at the event. So a youth speaker, preferably, and also the event will be, I will type it in later. The event will be on the November the 16th, 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. So it's an hour of the event. So I'm looking for any speakers who could nominate yourself. It's really urgent because I have to submit this speaker list soon. And yeah, I'm looking for a speaker. And also, Divya, I think you mentioned the negotiators as well. I am also looking for negotiators from the Global North because we already have a lot of Global South speakers in this forum, but we're also looking for negotiators from the Global North. So these side events is not only a speaking event, but it's also an intervention. It's part of the negotiation process. So I'm looking for one negotiator from the Global North, which can speak on behalf of the women and gender, and also one young speaker who can speak on human mobility through the women and gender lenses. But it's not 100% guaranteed yet because we have to get what we call the screening process from by the Youngo and also the PYCC team. So it's not 100% guaranteed to secure the speaking opportunity, but I'll let you know.
Thank you, Kylie. Monica, did you still want to share something or have a question?
This is just a suggestion around badges. If your organization is an observer accredited organization, but you didn't receive the allotment of badges that you anticipated or needed, just throwing it out there that you can always appeal that decision and request additional badges. If they go on the online registration platform, there is a form where you can appeal and request additional badges. I've done it in the past and I've received one more badge, which was all we needed. So if you are in that spot, consider that approach.
Thank you. That's super helpful. Since we still have Divya here, our Baku specialist, does anyone have any other questions on just, life in Baku, getting around, etc.?
I have a question actually to Divya. Divya, is it safe to drink tap water in Baku, or is it better to have a reusable bottle that we can take with us and fill with water at different stations?
That's a great question. I have been advised that you cannot drink the water from the tap directly, but you can boil it and drink it. So most hotels and places, if you're staying in Airbnb as well, they will have kettles. So preferably boil the water and then you can definitely drink it and carry it around in your water bottle. However, I would not risk drinking tap water even if you're like very thirsty. I think there is enough water stations that will be available at the COP29 location is what I'm hearing, but I don't know. They're still building it, apparently. What I've heard from the contractors I've met here is that they are building it up right now, and so we really don't know what it will look like in the end. But hopefully they will have water stations available for everyone to refill their water bottles, and that will be already available drinking water. But if you're staying in the city, wherever you're staying, please boil your water before you drink.
Great question, Simge. Divya, how's the recycling, composting, etc.?
Oh, I wish I had good news, but I don't see waste segregation happening here much. Even within the office here, I don't see much that is segregated, and I'm not aware of a national recycling system in Azerbaijan. Yeah,
Thank you for sharing.
so that's a challenge, yeah.
Okay. All right, last call. One more question or anything anyone else wants to share? Amazing. I guess that means we answered everyone's question, which is really the objective of our session today.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, sorry. Hi, everyone. I think I dropped my question in chat box.
Okay.
Yeah, Rashida. For any funding opportunities, I have my visa and accreditation. If there's any opportunity for that.
Does anyone know of, like, for people who are seeking funding to head to COP, what funding is available?
So Plant for the Planet had a funding, but unfortunately this one has closed, if I'm not mistaken, end of August. And the the scholarships have been awarded already, but that could definitely be something to look into next year. This is one that I've been aware about.
Okay. Got it. Well, thank you everyone for joining today. Again, if you're in a position to support, even $5 can go a really long way for women in climate. So appreciate any support you can provide. And I think do we have time? We just have one more minute, Thato. So I'm just gonna, if you want to put it into the chat here, just type it in. And if anyone can follow up with an answer or just drop it into the Q&A doc so that anyone who sees it can respond to that. But I want to make sure we're respecting everyone's time and letting everyone go. So thank you again, everyone, for joining today, and hope to see many of you at COP. And stay tuned, stay connected, join our WhatsApp group. We'll be sharing any events we may be involved with a little bit closer to the time as well. So thanks, everyone.
Thanks for organizing.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, Tia. Thank you, Mary Claire.
Thank you.
Stephanie.
Bye
Thank you all.
bye. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.